how's it going?
Did you ever in your life think you'd ever see a Brian Cody team dismantled so spectacularly?
No, I suppose no, that's true. You don't ever expect that. I'm not surprised in some respects when they go down to 14. Like the battle that's required is obviously going to be there, but putting so many balls under pressure to be launching balls straight in on top of the two Mahers, Barry Heffernan, and not maybe being able to work the lines a little bit more, you're going to be under serious pressure, because it means the quality of ball going back into Callan, Dwyer, Ford, John McGrath, who are all just doing so much damage, was always going to improve. And so that created the conditions, definitely. But at the start, from the outset, no. So you always think it's going to be 2 or 3 points if Kilkenny front to Kilkenny.
Why were Kilkenny lorrying ball in on a full-back line which had a man advantage and is also notoriously brilliant under the high ball?
I mean, I suspect it's because it's part of... I know they've changed their tactics, they've changed their style of play. They use the ball very, very well, and have done for the last 2 or 3 years. The more the game is focused on that pass and possession game. But I still do think with Tipperary and Kilkenny, there's a lot of gloves off kind of moments with them. Like, they're just like, we go old school, and there's the lash and rain, and there's the full clearances, and that's what the crowd responds to. And I don't know how effective... Conor Fogarty and Padraig Walsh in possession, carrying it forward, outstanding. Killian Buckley, I'm not sure about Killian's delivery at times under pressure. And then I thought coming out of the back, I thought Paul Murphy was doing well, but I didn't think his clearances were fantastic. And Joey Holden and Hughie Lawler on the ball, okay, they were playing the lines from time to time, but a lot of the time I think that the clearances were... suspect. Like not a type of clearance, we'll say, when you're dependent on a sweeper model, which Wexford would do, when they know that when they get the ball, they have to work up the lines with those extra passes, and those extra passes have to be quality. You don't play that system comfortably. They do if they need to, but they don't play comfortably, and they certainly don't choose it. So they don't play the lines, I don't think, as well. They're much more interested in a more direct ball. So when they went down to 14, to not be able to play, there was a few times I felt Killian Buckley in particular at one stage, Joey Holden another time, there was passes up the line that they needed to use, and instead they lorried it in, and it came back with interest.
But there was an interesting moment in the first half, because Conor Brown making a break up underneath the Hogan stand, it led to a Kilkenny score. I can't remember who got it, but that would suggest to me that they had the ability, they had the runners in the middle third to actually say to themselves, well, actually we don't need to lump this ball in long.
They unquestionably have the ability to do it. These guys are all developing at colleges levels now, and they're playing with everybody else around the country. They do have the ability to do it. Why they don't do it, I don't know, Owen. I suppose it falls between the line. Definitely at 15 on 15, it's a very different game. But when it goes to 14 on 15 and players are coming under that little bit more pressure, and you're also talking about from forwards, they've changed under Liam Sheehy, Tipperary forwards. They're not just... You become smarter tackling forwards as well as harder tackling forwards, and I think when you have that, when you have Callan and John, like the Bubbles, the McGraths, when they're tackling, but they're tackling smarter, it's the pressure to revert to type and get the clearance in just intensifies to the point where you don't really have much choice. Down a man, that choice is less again. So I think they have it. They have the capability to do it, but I don't think it's their most comfortable game. And so when they needed to use it most, I don't think it was there for them.
I think in retrospect, we're going to come back and look at this year as a year where we were denied the opportunity to see the two best teams in the country go at each other again, in the fact that Limerick got ambushed in the semi-final for whatever reason. It happens, and then they started to hit wides when they were so far behind, and they started to go for goals, and it was just a bit of a disaster. But actually, a Limerick tip game now, the whole world wants to see. It's just, it was that year that Waterford got ambushed by Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final as well, and we all wanted to see that Waterford team, that great Waterford team against that great Kilkenny team, and we didn't get the chance to see it. I have a feeling that we're all going to come to regret the fact that Limerick didn't get over Kilkenny in the semi-final, and that we're never going to get to see an All-Ireland final play out between those two teams in the current guise as that they're at the minute.
I thought you were going to argue for a Limerick Wexford All-Ireland final there, George.
Well, I mean, look,
that's the one that we were all waiting for.
That would have been amazing. That really would have been amazing. Watching the game yesterday, you're like, especially in the second half, 41 minutes on the clock, this game's over. It was completely finished. There was no way back, and there was no sense that they even knew how to get back into the game. Whereas at least if Tip had done that, I don't know. It's all a bunch of stuff and nonsense.
It is all a bunch of stuff and nonsense in one respect, but I do think that when you want to see that game between Tipperary and Limerick at in their absolute pomp, which they've kept the highest standard in the game up for 2 years, definitely, and it was no doubt an absolute ambush by Kilkenny in the semi-finals. But at the same time, you have to give them their absolute dues for that. This Tipperary team is what I would have the question in that regard, is because Limerick destroyed them. Limerick destroyed them in the Munster final. So I wouldn't be too excited to see this Tipperary team 6 weeks ago. That wasn't the big game after the semi-final against Wexford, when a man down, 20 minutes on the clock, 5 points down. And at that point in time, I wouldn't have been too interested in seeing Tipperary Limerick. But Tipperary, after coming back, and Tipperary loosening up, and Tipperary with Noel McGrath midfield, with Michael Brink catching ball all over the place, Seamus Callanan and Jason Ford and Bubbles working together, the work of Dan McCormack, Niall O'Mara's efficiency, when they come in, and then that's not even going near the back six who were just phenomenal yesterday, and were in the closing 20 minutes of that game against Wexford as well. From that point on, I see the desire. But before that, I think, and this is obviously testament to Liam Sheedy and Eamon O'Shea, the management team there, it's I'm not too interested in this Tipperary team, because I thought they still haven't resolved what their deepest issues are in terms of not getting the most out of themselves. Yeah.
Now, look, the point you made about Wexford, I think forever they will look at this as a huge opportunity lost for them. The 5 points, the man up, the fact that their style of play was actually so perfectly suited to deal with a team who were a man down, and that somehow the wires got crossed. There was a short circuiting, and they went away from the thing that had made them great in the first place, even within that game. I think that it's going to be a very long winter for Wexford, but it should be a fairly encouraging one too when they get past the grieving process of what's happened. They're right there with the best teams in the country at the minute.
They're right there, and the problem is, when you're not right there all the time, you lose the knowledge of what comes with the likes of Tipperary, Kilkenny, of being there all the time. And I felt we kind of shot ourselves out very early, and we had this giddy intensity, and then all of a sudden, when this finish line is not far away and it's all looking so perfectly possible, you stop doing the thing, you stop doing the thing that's got you to the point. You start doing the thing that you think got you to the point, which was maybe some of the frills. So I think once we spend a little bit more time at this level, but you look at the teams that we're looking at and the standards that we're at, like Limerick, I don't think Limerick are going anywhere. Obviously, Tipperary, I'm assuming Liam Sheedy wants to stay on for another couple of years with them. They're not going to go anywhere either. Kilkenny, interested to see what'll happen with Kilkenny now, what'll happen with Brian Cody, and if there was a change, there, how significant an impact that would be. But I think that they're still kind of emerging as a team anyway, so I think they're just going to develop on as it is. I think for Wexford, the standards are high. Galway are going to come back too. The standards are all around us. Dublin are making a bit of a comeback finally as well. So it doesn't take much in a place like Wexford, I think, to get knocked back a little bit if you ship a couple of defeats and the standards are increasing all around you. But I think we should be looking at it as we're happy with what's going to happen.
All right, Diarmuid, great to have you with us this morning. Thanks a million for making the time to talk to us.
Thanks, Diarmuid.
Diarmuid Lyng giving us some thoughts there on the All-Ireland hurling final